everybody. Welcome back to Almost Sideways, a place for movie conversation. My name is Adam, and today's conversation is going to be based off one of my favorite films from the 1980s, and that is The Princess Bride. Now, this is the Criterion version, and I actually just checked it out for the first time on Criterion. Really good transfer over here, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So my review is going to be based on my experience with the Criterion, as well as my experience with The Princess Bride in general. Because this film will always hold a near and dear to my heart because of who showed me this film and it's also my father's favorite movie. And today is actually his birthday, and so of course I wanted to celebrate his life and his legacy that he left behind at way too soon, and share some of my thoughts and experiences with the movie that I've shared with him, and also kind of share my thoughts and my love for the movie as well, and kind of what he handed down to me, and kind of have this review kind of live on and carry his legacy in this format. It's going to be maybe a little bit emotional for me, because this is kind of obviously a public setting and a very personal and emotional matter. But I'm excited to do this and talk about it. Anyway, The Princess Bride came out in 1987 and is directed by Rob Reiner. And first thing we got to talk about is this stacked cast. My goodness. It kicks off with the great legendary Peter Falk, who is the grandfather plus the narrator, telling this young boy, played by Fred Savage. Great casting here to start off this film, but the cast of characters are fantastic. Kicking off with our main leads, Robin Wright plays Buttercup, and we got Cary Elwes playing the dread pirate Roberts, or Wesley. Then we had to go into some of the minor characters, which are just as stand out as from the pack as well. We got Andre the Giant, we got Mandy Patinkin in there, and the great Wallace Shawn. All playing characters that kind of kidnap Buttercup. Then you got go even further down this trail. You got Chris Sarandon, who plays Prince Humperdinck, and yeah, Christopher Guest shows up as that Count Rogan, and Billy Crystal also shows up here as well, and as the Miracle Max. A fantastic cast and characters, and I think this is one of the biggest outstanding spots this film has going for it, is that this cast is pulling its weight. They're delivering, they're nailing those threes in overtime. It's just a great cast. Every character, every time I see this movie, I'm always just reminded of the characters to come and the performances they give. I love seeing characters like the Miracle Max, played by Billy Crystal, unrecognizable Billy Crystal, all behind that makeup, but even the guy who plays Humperdinck, Chris Sarandon, he's fantastic. Andre the Giant with Who Wants the Peanut. Everybody delivering on all accounts, giving out a very iconic movie for me. And the cast for me is always what sets this movie apart. Just seeing all these characters come to life and giving me some really fun nostalgia as well. If you don't know what the movie is about, it starts off with a young boy who is sick, and his grandfather comes to read him a story that he used to read his father, and grandfather's father used to read to him. So now he's going to read it to his grandson. Anyway, this book is The Princess Bride, and it tells the love story and adventure of Princess Buttercup and her true love of Wesley, or the dread pirate Roberts. This movie has just about everything you would really love. It has some romance, it has some adventure, it has some action, has some swashbucklingness too, with some cool fencing, has really funny lines from different characters, really quotable lines as well. Shrieking eels, and just like I said, just about everything you really want in this movie is there, and it is kind of a beautifully set in the backdrop of the 80s, especially when they show into Fred Savage's room there. It's completely 80s there, but yet still familiar enough for today's audiences as well. This movie, for me, I grew up watching The Princess Bride, and that's because my father, and without him, I maybe not have as much love for this movie as I do. and I have rewatched it over the countless times over the years. Every single time my dad would have a birthday, we would watch his favorite movie. We used to watch it a lot too when one of us was sick growing up, because that's kind of what you just do. You watch The Princess Bride when you're sick, and that it just made us feel better. My dad always said, this was his favorite movie, and I didn't understand. Like, this is your favorite movie? There's so many maybe better quality wise movies, but over the years, there's just something so warm and kind of makes you feel good inside watching this movie. And it's not just the adventure that you're taking on. It's not just the laughs you do share when you're watching it with your family, and it's not just the romance and the love that you feel for these characters, but it's also the family bonding that comes with it. The movie is set with a family bond, with the grandfather sharing this story that has been passed down in his family for many years. And as I'm thinking about this movie, there's a similarity there, that this movie is set on the backdrop of a connection, a family connection. And this movie, it deserves and needs to be continued with that family connection by us sharing it with our loved ones as well. So as my father shared this movie with me, I will forever share this movie with my daughter. And I hope that she continues that tradition, because it's something that it holds that place in the heart, and it brings up those memories of watching it when I was a kid. And even though my dad's not here this year to watch this movie with me, or even would talk about it or quote it back and forth, I know that when I was watching it, he was there with me and looking out for me and my family. And that's kind of the special bond that I had with my dad. Is every year for my birthday, we would go out to see a movie, and every year for his birthday, it seemed like we would always like bring a Princess Bride or watch it growing up. And there was that connection, even though he wasn't the diehard movie buff that I may be. There was that connection of similar interests, and we could enjoy each other's likes. And something about The Princess Bride has always kind of stuck with me, and it's not just because it's a great movie, but it's part of my father as well. And there's something every time I think about it, I just think of my dad, and I think and I know he is proud of me, and I know that he would be there right next to me if he could, watching the movie. But some more thoughts on The Princess Bride before we dive too much into it. Again, this is the Criterion set that I got. This is a very beautiful Criterion. If you're listening on, if you're watching on YouTube, it's very beautiful, and it has As You Wish, the typical awesome thing. This is actually a pretty cool steelbook, not steelbook, but a nice little copy back. You have some reading material there too. A nice little couple, like maybe 50-page little turnout here, and then you have your beautiful disc as well. So I really do like this Criterion. One of my favorite Criterions that I own, actually. Some of my favorite things about The Princess Bride, based off a film aspect itself, I think Rob Reiner, this movie definitely captures a perfect sense of the 80s, but also Rob Reiner kind of embodies that as well. I think what he was able to bring to the direction of this movie is very brilliant and kind of one of a kind. I don't necessarily associate Rob Reiner with this movie. I always think Rob Reiner, I think Stand By Me, and I think of When Harry Met Sally. I guess even Misery at times too, but that doesn't really feel like a Rob Reiner film to me. But he kind of perfectly has that feel of an 80s classics, and then also some of it goes into some of the 90s movies with Misery and A Few Good Men. Another thing I really, of course, I love about this movie is my characters. And I think one of my favorite characters is Mandy Patinkin here. And a lot of people may know him from Criminal Minds. He's definitely one that pops up on that show quite a bit. But for me, Mandy Patinkin, I always associate him with The Princess Bride as playing the character who's been in the revenge business all his life, going after the six-fingered man. And every time I see him, I always picture the six-fingered man. Mandy Patinkin's character, he's Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Great line there. And of course, his budding friendship with one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Andre the Giant. Anybody want a peanut? Seeing Andre the Giant in this movie is pretty awesome. That guy was huge, and he's a larger-than-life talent, and personality. Seeing how he was able to move around a lot. Obviously, he was getting a little on there with the years, and a lot of his body did break down, not just because of the wrestling, but also kind of his how fast his body grew. But seeing him here it's amazing, and I miss Andre the Giant, maybe from a wrestling aspect as well, and an entertainer as well. But in here, it's nostalgia, it's class, it's Andre the Giant, baby. But then you have to go talk about the two leads. Cary Elwes, as the Wesley, or the Dread Pirate Roberts, is a great character. I really enjoy his relationship with Robin Wright's Buttercup. I love the introduction of the Dread Pirate Roberts character because he's definitely testing her to see if she still loves him, and then because he obviously loves her. And seeing him get pushed off the hill and hearing "As You Wish," that's a great little reveal there. And she jumps off the cliff to go roll down and follow him. My wife actually said to me, and I love how you always say "As you wish." When she asked me to do something, I say, "Oh yeah, as you wish," and it kind of makes her feel about this movie too. So it's really awesome to kind of pass those things down and have how those things stick to me. I really think this is a very quotable movie too, and it just, I think a lot of the great screenwriting here, and also just that feel. I think a lot of the 80s movies that I'm really fond of, I do have memories of quoting these movies, but The Princess Bride was definitely on the top of my list. So anyway, overall, I'm gonna probably give The Princess Bride 3.5 out of 4 stars. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna give this one a 4 stars out of 4. This is a perfect film for me. I can't picture anything changing, and I did read something online that they were doing had a possibility of doing a remake, and I actually absolutely think that's a horrible idea. Would not like to see a remake of The Princess Bride. But I'm going to give this 4 out of 4 stars. It's everything that my childhood is based on, I think. Anyway, I hope you guys really enjoyed The Princess Bride. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of the movie, and I would love to hear them and have a good conversation down there in the comments section. If this is your first time to the channel, thank you so much for stopping by, checking out the review. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, or tell a friend, or hit that like button, whatever your case may be. We really appreciate your support. We're on the way to 400 subscribers. We're getting there. And anyway, until next time, we'll see you later. Love you, Dad. I miss you. Bye.